Hello. There's no one
All
on yet.
right, great, we made it.
We did. Hi. Hi, Dr. Awesome. Danny Marie. Black Choco 96. Hi, everybody. How are you?
Hi, friends.
Uh, we're so happy you're here. It's a crazy... Hi, Ben. We'll be with you in just a second. We are so happy you guys are here. It's a crazy week, right? And so it's great that you're tuning in. If you are tuning in for the first time, this is Between Two Nerds. We are a little side project of nerdsvote.com, which is your center, your epicenter for voter information, education, and opportunity. And we also do this fantastic show called Between Two Nerds, where we interview some of your favorite notable nerds. I'm Courtenay Taylor.
I'm JP Karliak.
And today we have a fantastic guest on. You would know him. Let me just double check. Before I get super into this and let me just make sure that I see his beautiful face. I do. You would know him from Henry Danger, Bunsen is a Beast, and of course his viral comedic music video Back to the 90s, also Back to the 80s, which is the one that I love as well. We with Ben Giroux. There it is!
Hey!
Again, the timing is so good. Hello, friend.
How's it going, guys?
Oh my gosh, it's so good to see you.
It's good to see you too. It's what a strange time this is.
Yeah, this could be a very weird interview.
I have felt, I mean, I'm sure you guys feel this way too. We all know each other from the voiceover world. I felt particularly grateful for voiceover during this time, which is seemingly the last safe thing to do during a pandemic in the entertainment industry.
The last safe space. It's always been for us. That is.
But JP, your hair is still on point in a pandemic. I'm impressed.
I know.
Oh, stop, really?
He gets it done outside. I just started doing my own, and he's like, no, this is his hill that he will not die on, by going outside and having his very talented hairstylist and colorist do it for him.
Yeah, we do it al fresco. It's real fun.
I rock a box.
I've just been full tilt, pretty much wearing a hat since March.
Yes, but you know what? It makes your beautiful eyes just stand out even more without the bother of hair. So you know what? Enjoy.
Underneath that hat, though, he has hair that goes down to his ankles.
It's pretty long now. It's pretty
Is
long
it?
now.
Oh, come on, give us a little.
Oh, it's awful. It's just
Oh my
so
God,
awful.
it is long.
It's really long now.
I love it.
Pandemic hair.
Everyone is going back to their like middle school hair.
Yeah. This was, for me, this was like my college hair.
And have a man bun. It would be beautiful.
I actually posted my first man bun photo the other day. That's how 2020 has gone.
Wow. Yeah, it's a dark time, guys. It's a very dark time.
It is.
So, buddy, how are you keeping busy? I mean, I know you're doing voiceover for the work and everything, but like, how are you staying positive during all of this madness?
You know, it's a great question, and one that I routinely have with many of our colleagues in entertainment. I think this experience has taught all of us how to adapt. And I think that certainly, that's what I've experienced from March moving forward. You know, prior to March, I was doing I was recurring on 3 on-camera shows. Voiceover has always been sort of that consistent thing for me, but I sort of thought of myself as more of an on-camera actor. And really, the focus has been all voiceover now. I'm sure you guys can attest to this, but, voiceover has never been more busy in my career now than it ever has before because of, the way people have adapted. So I've been lucky enough I'm voicing a new animated series, super grateful to have a new weekly gig, super grateful to have financial security during such an unstable time. as you know, in the voiceover world, can't really talk about what it is yet. But just really grateful to have a consistent thing. I can say the one thing we are doing on this new project is we're recording as an ensemble, which is, I think, unique in a pandemic. So we've all had to adapt in figuring out how to record via Zoom, recording locally on our end, sending 5 gigabyte files after the record is over, running Source Connect at the same time. Anyways, not to get into the too nerdy of the details about it, but it's been a real exercise in patience and being adaptable during a pandemic. And then the other thing I've been working on, which is super random, but has been a really wonderful creative outlet, is TikTok. I joined TikTok a week before the pandemic, and I've built up about 3.5 million fans on it now. And it's been a really wonderful creative outlet to certainly keep people laughing. I got into this industry to make people laugh, to be funny. And particularly now, I think that's what me as a professional funny person, what I can contribute during such a dark time is levity. And so that's been my daily goal of, posting funny stuff. Certainly there's a lot of kids that follow my work because of my stuff with Nickelodeon and Disney. So I try to do stuff that's, as age appropriate as possible. And luckily that's been another revenue stream for me. So, what a time to be alive when you're paying your bills from your bedroom closet voiceover booth and from TikTok.
Yeah, for sure. I've been watching some of your videos on Instagram because I'm an old man and I don't understand TikTok yet. But you're doing a great job. They're hilarious and they're definitely a bright spot. I know for my day, and I'm sure a lot of other people. You mentioned that a lot of your audience is young people, and I don't know how many of them are of voting age yet, but do you have any words of inspiration for those kids out there who maybe not be of voting age yet, but are eager to be involved in the process at all?
Yeah, it's a great point to bring up, and it's something that I routinely talk to the kiddos on TikTok about. I go live on TikTok a lot, and if you're not of age to vote yet, certainly you likely live in a household with people who are. And I think that you're never too young to spread empathy and to understand good versus evil. And I truly, without getting too crazy about it right now, like I think that most elections in our lifetime have come down to ideology. Certainly my dad's side of the family, Midwestern Catholics, a lot of people vote conservative and Republican on that side. And in past elections, I can disagree with those choices, but I guess, understand where they're coming from an ideological sense. This, for me, is entirely different. This is, you're either for empathy, you're for getting things back on track, or you're for the guy that sides with Nazis. I mean, it's as simple as that. And, certainly people get fired up and everybody's got opinions right now, but I truly believe this comes down to, are you on the side of the Nazis or are you not? It's as simple as that. And, it sounds harsh, but that's just how this shakes down. When you're locking kids up in cages and, when I haven't been able to go to a restaurant for 7 months or see anyone that I know, democracy and civilization as we know it is really sort of hanging in the balance. And so I'm on the side for not necessarily returning to the world we came from, because there's a lot of work we need to do with social justice and racial inequality, but creating a better world. And I know that starts with a vote for Biden.
Damn, he just threw it out there.
All out. There it is.
Well, if you're just joining us, we are, this is Between Two Nerds. I'm Courtenay Taylor. This is JP Karliak. We have this show as an offshoot of nerdsvote.com, which is our website and our efforts to make sure that nerds of all stripes do get out and make educated and informed votes, make them happen. And our guest today is Ben Giroux, and he is laying down the knowledge right now. And I think it's important, just to get to the beginning of what we were talking about, to let young people know that even if they're not of age to vote, they are of age to call their representatives. And just because you don't have a vote, you can call your representatives, email, like freaking hit them up on Twitter if you're still using Twitter, and let them know that you're a pre-voter, that you will be voting, you're paying attention now, and your opinion counts. And whatever that opinion is, let it be known, because we're handing this country off to you guys, and you have a say, even if you don't have a vote yet. And also, be sure to check out whether or not you have, pre-registration rights in your state for registering to vote before you turn 18, if you are 18 by the time the election rolls around. Obviously, that's a little late right now, but you know what? There's elections all the time, and you should vote in all of them. So why not do the research now while it's so readily available?
And I think that's a really good point, and something that I would continue to encourage people to do who are either of voting age or about to become voting age is, look, obviously the biggest election that we all talk about is the presidential election, but there are elections all the time that have substantial impacts on all of our lives, especially locally and regionally. And that, I think, is something that we can continue to encourage people to get involved and to be knowledgeable about. Admittedly, I think when I was in college, JP and I both went to USC.
Are you college buddies?
Yeah.
I don't think we were there at the same time.
I don't think we were there at the same time, but yeah, we've seen each other at alumni events. But look, admittedly, when I was in college, I think I just thought about the presidential election, and I thought that not everything else sort of was relevant to me. But I think that you're seeing this huge turnout and this activism right now. If you look, I think we're at 79 million pre-votes cast in this country before the election, which is over half of what the vote total was in 2016, which I think is a really good number. You want to see that engagement. It's because people are feeling activated, because I can't think of another election or another time where every single one of us has negatively been impacted by what's going on in this country. And so I think people are feeling a little bit more passionate right now to try to correct things and try to get things on a better path. And hopefully that activism continues forward and isn't just about this election, but is in all the elections to come.
Oh, we're going to have you on every time there's any kind of like local stuff like that. We're just going to, this is not going to end. We're probably going to take a little hiatus to, recharge our batteries. But Between Two Nerds is going to continue, because it's so important that people realize that it's not every 4 years, that, voting is not set it and forget it. It's not about just casting your vote and walking away. It's about being in communication with your reps and voting, in local and state elections as well, so that you have an opportunity to steer your country. There in so many things we want more agency. We have agency by not only voting, but also by having these, I keep my reps in my phone. I just say, like, call Dianne Feinstein, and Siri calls her for me, and I let her know what I think. And sometimes, it's good, sometimes it's bad, whatever the case may be. It doesn't matter if you voted for them or you didn't vote for them. They need to know what you think, because it's a relationship. But they don't run the country. We have elected them to represent us.
I would advocate also, sort of preaching, educating yourselves on the issues, because I think that there's a lot of people who might not vote the way they do if they were educated on what's going on. We essentially have a propagandist network happening, a TV network in America right now, which sounds crazy to say, but we do. And so I think it's really important that people educate themselves on what's really going on, because, there's a lot of people that, and this is no fault of their own, are swayed by, just how their family votes, or this is my family's going to vote for Trump or whatever, so I'm going to just vote that way, and don't really take the time to educate themselves on, what's actually going on, what are the policies, and so I think that's an important piece of the puzzle.
And very much so.
think about the terms that you're using. I see a lot of people throwing around terms like socialism and fascism and things like that. And I'm going to say, I don't know about you guys, I wasn't a particularly great student for 50% of what I studied. But I did love my political science classes. And it's really important to know the terminology that you're using. And if your friends or your family are using terms that you don't know, they may be using them incorrectly as well. And so it's important to be educated in your opinions and to take this, let me just move this. I think that, that the opinions that we're putting out are based in fact, and that we are not inheriting them from the people that we grew up, from our parents, our family, or our friends, that we think for ourselves. And that requires a little bit of elbow grease. So on that note, one of the things that we'd like to talk about as well is like, what are great sources for you to get information from? Because we both, for good and bad, have a 24-hour news cycle. And do you have places that you turn to, either groups, or like if someone was going to ask the question, and of course you can ask Ben questions if you throw them in the little question box, but if you just say, hey, hi, those aren't questions, so those won't get answered. But where's a great source for you if you didn't know how to get educated and you weren't in school right now, or where would you turn?
Sure. Well, I'll list the two things that I use every time I vote, which is I research, as unbiased voter guides as I can find. Here in Los Angeles, on the West Coast, I look up the Los Angeles Times voter guide. I typically, ideologically align with their choices, not 100% of the time. So I think it's important to pull up other voter guides to compare. But that's the first thing I would do, is like, wherever you are, your local newspaper will likely have endorsed some candidates. You might completely disagree with it, but usually they will explain their rationale. And so I think it's fascinating to pull up some voter guides. I also have a good buddy from college, from USC, who does a great voter guide. I'll give him a plug. His name's Eddie Quintana. He's a writer for a Fox show. Really smart, progressive guy. And he does a voter guide every year that I push out on my Instagram. And I ideologically tend to align with him. But even if you don't, I think it's really important to see why people come to the decisions they do. Educated people who have really taken time to research, every measure, every proposition, every candidate. So those are the two resources I always turn to here in Los Angeles. And then the other thing that I would sort of advocate is watch a lot of news. Like I read news every day. I try to not read from a single outlet to just sort of get a full picture. And look, once in a while, I will even pull up news from sources that I am completely against and diametrically opposed to, just to see what they're saying. Because ultimately, that's going to give you the best global perspective on how you feel about a specific issue and not be swayed one way or the other. So I would say educate yourself by watching a lot of news. I also, on Twitter, I know you guys are on Twitter. I don't post as much on Twitter, but I use Twitter to of the news correlation. So, I really like CNN, so I'll go on CNN and I'll follow a lot of their correspondence, and I feel like I get a pretty sort of dialed in view of what's going on specific issues. So follow news correspondents, watch a lot of news, pull up voter guides from a variety of sources. I think that's a great first step. And then, Courtney, to your point, also, reach out to representatives. Representatives, the people that represent you are more than happy to educate you and give you information on what's going on.
And to touch on that too, BBC, other countries' news sources, Al Jazeera, it's interesting to see what gets covered from outside the United States. JP, I don't know what's going on. We have sort of a weird, I think there's like a weird clicking thing happening.
The what?
Oh, I can't hear it.
There's some like feedback.
Well, I would, to speak to your point about, the international thing, I had an interesting experience right before the 2016 election, I lived in Spain for a summer. And it was actually my second time to the country. My first time really, I think if you haven't really traveled much, you sort of have this opinion that, oh, United States, we're the center of America, the center of the universe, and, we're everybody's sort of top priority. So a really fascinating, humbling experience to go travel internationally and stay on the other side of the world and realize, like, we're completely irrelevant in Spain, in my view. So it's fascinating, like you said, to see, okay, their world, what's going on with them is the top priority. How is something like us, who is a less of a priority, how does that factor into their news cycle? And it was fascinating, especially right before the last election.
And JP and I are not married. We're related in any way, but half my family's from Australia, and it's really interesting because in Australia, it is big news. They pay a lot of attention to what, and I think it's good just to get a worldview on things as well. Of how we're seen, how we're portrayed in news. And so, yeah, obviously educating yourself is super important, and also continuing to educate yourself. I am wrestling a little bit with the idea that I voted for somebody a couple of years ago who sucks. And I would like them to be removed from office locally here in LA. And I'm starting to do research on how we can do that and why I don't like them, and what the options are for that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So, also if you feel moved from this political cycle, run for office if you're of age. There's lots of stuff you can do locally. Ben, maybe you should run for office. Just saying.
That'd be awesome.
If I ran for office someday, they're going to pull up all of my Nickelodeon clips of me running around as an evil man baby saying, is this the guy you want running your city?
Well, maybe evil man babies are around right now.
Yeah.
So anyway, no, exactly. I think it would have happened at that time. So let's just get this out of the way, because everybody wants you to do the toddler voice. So if you just want to throw in the toddler voice so everyone can just cleanse their palate, and we can move on, that would be amazing.
Okay, great.
Well, everybody should vote.
Now we've
Thank
moved
you.
on from it. Yeah.
Okay, guys. So he's done the toddler voice. So now if you have questions you would like to ask Ben, that was the monkey dance moment, exactly.
There it is.
Now that he's hopped off his little rolling ball, and if you guys have questions for Ben, you can throw them in the comment box or the question box below. Do you like anime? Amy Way wants to know.
Interesting story. So I did a little of anime dubbing back in the day. I'm sure you guys have done so much of it. My parents, for almost 40 years, ran a comic book store. So I sort of grew up.
Your nerd
around.
cred runs deep.
My nerd cred runs deep. So kind of grew up around a lot of anime. Never got super into it directly myself, but in terms of that sort of comic book culture, I grew up as a young kid going to the San Diego Comic-Con to literally set up a table with my dad and sell comics before it became all Hollywoodized. So yeah, nerd cred runs deep. I grew up in a comic book store.
That is your next level now. Next level. I just have to also say that I think you are somebody who's such a shining example of someone who has made acting and performing totally work for you. And I'm sure we have some folks who are watching right now who are interested in becoming actors or are on their way. And yes, he has very pretty blue eyes, you guys. Okay. Ben, did you know you have very pretty blue eyes?
Oh, thanks.
You're getting a lot of blue-eyed love. So we're going to acknowledge that. Mm-hmm. Be pretty. Bat your eyes at everybody who thinks you got pretty eyes. Thank you. So just talk a little bit about I just love that you've made your own videos, the production value is so high, that you're doing stuff, on TikTok, that you've created so much of your own content as well as diversifying your acting background. Maybe you could give us a little bit of, sort of a lowdown on how you got started and how you sort of learned all this stuff.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think you sort of hit it right on the head, is diversifying your paths in entertainment to cover a lot of ground. And certainly the pandemic has been a microcosm of that. I started, I went to college for acting and cinema. And my final semester at USC, I booked a Fairley Brothers pilot. And it was like a short guy role. I had to play like this leprechaun character. I was lucky in that right after college, I started working pretty consistently. I was just a guest star that just kept doing, and primarily short guy roles. I'm 5'2". I'd be a terrible choice for your pickup basketball team.
Hey man, spuds.
Exactly.
Spud.
So I was really lucky to start, I was working my butt off to, get a proper agent and a manager and do the acting thing and hustle. But I found that I was not 100% satisfied being put in a pigeonholed box of like, oh, he'll just do the short guy roles. So that's around the time that I started realizing I needed to diversify my paths. So in the early days of YouTube, I started taking over a lot of YouTube channels. I ran the FML channel and the Fail Blog channel back in the day, just pumping out content, trying to create a little audience for my comedy. And then it really sparked a love of directing. And so I started directing. This is around the same time I stopped acting in commercials because I realized I liked being behind the camera in them more. So I started directing commercials and music videos and, Facebook Watch series and just lots of cool stuff. And I wound up building up my own production company, Small Red Cape. And, and that was really satisfying. I think I had to learn to sort of set that actor ego aside and get equally excited behind the camera, which I did. And I almost, in some cases, prefer it more. So that's been a real challenge in this pandemic, is kind of not being able to be on set with my friends, because I really enjoy creating things. And I realized pretty quickly that by creating my own content, whether it be for, a client or a brand or something for my channel, I was able to be involved in all aspects of the creative process, and it was satisfying in a way that I hadn't necessarily experienced yet as just a television actor. And what I found by making my own content, which started to go more and more viral and get more views and more attention, was that it made me a better actor. Because now when I'm on a set, or at least pre-pandemic, I find that I can, I'm also watching the script supervisor do their thing and appreciating the way they're breaking down a scene, or I'm watching the gaffer give instructions to his staff. So I think it's really cool to be behind the camera as well, because you get a whole other aspect, just another perspective on the entertainment industry. And I started making all these hip hop comedy music videos. We charted on Billboard a couple of years ago with our Back to the 90s video, which you referenced, joined the Backstreet Boys in Las Vegas. That was bizarre. But time and time again, on a bird's eye view, if I zoom out from all of it, what I'm constantly reminded of is that anytime I have proactively created something, or I've proactively gone after something I want without, the help of an agent or a manager or whatever, it has always led to something good. Be it a new creative partnership with someone, or an increase in fans for my brand of comedy, or whatever it is, or sometimes even money. So my biggest thing that I tell people, I go on TikTok a lot and I give acting advice. And the biggest thing I say is be proactive. Make your own stuff constantly. Now more than ever. We're in a pandemic. I've gone from a set of 250 people with a jib and all these cameras and huge budgets to literally being in my bedroom with an iPhone. And yet you can't stop creativity. So the thing that I like to say is, especially for young people who haven't, who might still be in school, is create characters, do voices in your bathroom mirror, make crazy sketches, by yourself, or when it's safe to do so with your friends. It's never been easier to make stuff. You know, I had a mini DV camera in high school, and it was a pain trying to make little sketches. Now we have computers in our pockets that are full filmmaking studios. And so I really encourage a lot of the kiddos that follow me who are interested in entertainment to just be proactive and make stuff, because good stuff will always come from that proactivity.
And how did you get past, I mean, you sort of, I mean, I'm an actor, as is JP, but when I think about making my own content, I'm always like, what if I put it out there and it sucks? And like, what do you say to someone who kind of is like, I'm afraid to put stuff out because everything lives on the internet. Yes. Afraid of failure, afraid to put stuff out on the internet because it lives forever. You know,
Totally.
How do you wrestle with that?
I mean, I think I'll use my lit career as an example. My writing partner and I are pitching tons of shows now via Zoom. We're writing 5 days a week. Even in a pandemic, you know, prior to the pandemic, we would meet Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, every week for years, developing, you know, and writing pilots and shows and whatnot. And the fruits of our labors are starting to pay off in terms of a lot of virtual meetings and whatnot, optioning projects, et cetera, et cetera. But the reason that I think we're finding that next level of success in our writing right now is because 4 or 5 years ago, we said, hey, this is our job. We're just not being paid for it yet. We're going to do it every day. And I'll tell you what, if we go back and read some of those first pilot scripts we wrote, they're awful. And we sent them around to people thinking they were great. Now I can objectively say that our writing is a lot better. And so I think the same is true for content creation. I have made so many terrible things in my life, but I had to make those terrible things to make some stuff that I think is pretty great. So the only way to get to that point is you gotta suck first. And so, you know, I think that's with anything you're doing in life, you just gotta go for it. I will say my perspective on content creation specifically has changed a bit in that I was always the person that worked on one YouTube video for 2 years. I was like, I don't have the capacity to make a video every day, so I am going to make the most mind-blowing thing I possibly can and put up a 6-minute thing and say, hey, will you invest 6 minutes of your life into seeing something that took me 2 years to create, which all of my hip-hop comedy music videos took. I will say, now in the pandemic, quantity is sort of king, especially in the TikTok world. That's certainly how I've been able to achieve growth on that platform. But I think it's also easy to create, and audiences are forgiving, particularly in the pandemic now, if stuff doesn't look as great as it used to, if things don't sound as great as they used to. I think people want to follow, at least in the social media landscape, people want to follow people and not brands. So they want an idea of like, okay, I understand this guy's sense of humor. Some stuff's going to make me laugh a lot. Some stuff's going to stink. But I'm just going to keep being creative because right now, again, I'll just go back to the thing that I think we as artists can be doing, other than sort of encouraging people to get activated and vote and be involved in a better future, is providing entertainment and levity and smiles in a really terrible time for the world. And so certainly by posting daily on social media, at least from one comedy guy, I just try to make people laugh. So I would say just don't have an ego about it. Put stuff up. If some stuff stinks, there's another video coming right after that.
Yeah, for sure. I know that for me, the quantity thing has always been my downfall because I get real precious. But yeah, I'm still trying to get over that. But it's like your ability to just put things out like that has been, and I haven't seen anything that you put up that's been bad. So
well, thank you.
Maybe there's an algorithm that's keeping that from me, but all you do.
Yeah, we're
Thanks,
gonna go dig for the Ben Giroux suck channel just to see.
Yeah.
Well, I would say, you know, if you're thinking about posting more content, this is specific to people that are involved in voiceover. One of the pieces of content that does really well on TikTok is people in the voiceover community that have voiced animated projects or commercials or whatever, and split screening it and sort of lip syncing along to the stuff that you've done. I found that people really enjoy watching behind the scenes of things that you've voiced, and you guys have voiced so many things. That's been a sort of an endless supply of content for me. That is super satisfying. It's sort of like a peek behind the curtain for people that are fans of whatever the animated projects are that we've all voiced. So there's one idea for you.
Thank you.
For
Thank
sure.
you. See?
I've been eating up some of the videos that John Daly does, aka Epic Voice Guy. He's been using a lot of deep fake.
I know.
Amazing Ryan Reynolds, and he just does Ryan Reynolds all day.
He dressed as the toddler and did Ryan Reynolds as the toddler. It was fantastic. That's one of the things I got to get you guys on. I've been doing TikTok voiceover battles and challenging voice actors to trying each other's voices. So you made me think of it because I did one with John Bailey. He did one of his Transformers voices, and I did my toddler one. So I got to have you guys come do that. It's a fun little series.
I saw you and E.G. Daily go at it. It was awesome. But again, what a great thing. So, making plans for different types of stuff to keep both you entertained and keep your creative juices flowing, and also to keep in contact with people. It must be really, really satisfying on many levels. Are you a planner? I mean, are you a guy who just kind of like gets out there and just starts doing it? Or do you have do you make lists? Do you plan things?
Yeah, I would say, especially right now in the pandemic, I've gone through phases of planning where it's like, okay, I'm going to plan out this series of videos and this and that and this and that. And then sometimes you just sort of have to prioritize mental health, especially right now. And I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to take a week and not post a bunch and just sort of focus on being in a good headspace, particularly, during this time where we can't see people and can't do the things that we love to do. So for me, and I think it's an important point to bring up, like right now, what supersedes planning for me is just prioritizing mental health, which is what we should all be doing. That said, I'm a super organized human being, and I do try to plan out posts, and then what I find is if you plan out your content you're going to post, you can throw some random stuff in the midst of that. One of the features I really like on TikTok is people will comment. You get tons of comments on all the videos. You can actually make a video about a comment. So I tend to like doing those because it's very interactive. It keeps the fans engaged, but it also, for me, a comment is a setup, and it's my job to fill in the punchline.
I'm definitely I'm like, learn how to use TikTok. Right after this week is over. So
yes,
obviously there's a few things happening this week. Speaking of mental health and planning, one of the things that we have in our, just make sure, I don't even think I ended up pinning this comment, but I'm going to pin it now. It's very important that you guys know that we are a few days away from the election, if you haven't heard. And if you are planning on doing, if you have a vote by mail ballot, it is really too late to pop that into the mail. So if your plan was to do that, you're going to need to rejigger that plan and make sure that you talk to your Bureau of Elections, your Secretary of State, and find out where locally you can either return your ballot to your polling place, to a sanctioned and authorized ballot box. You may be able to go in and give your mail-in ballot to someone at your polling place and get a provisional ballot. But mail is slow. Please do not put your ballot in the mail at this point. We're going to have to switch. And if you're planning on voting by in person, please start making your plan now, where you're going to go, where you're going to park.
Plan to stay for a minute because
yes.
lines are going to be long.
Which,
if you're lucky, you get in and out. You're like, oh, great. I have a couple hours to go because I planned my day around this. But you may be in line for a few hours, even if you're not in a big city.
right.
I've got friends who are in little suburbs and everything. They were in line for a few hours.
So
yeah.
Bring snacks.
And I would also,
bring a sweatshirt,
I would just
phone chargers,
add
so
on
you
to
can watch
that it's
Ben's
important to
videos.
know. I was just going to add on and say it's important to know what your polling place is. I think one election in years past, I remember going to the wrong polling place. So that's something you could look up right now and just make sure you know, if you are planning to vote in person, where that polling place is, and also what kind of social distancing and COVID safe protocols they've got in place to make sure you're going to be safe.
Yeah, and also, you know, if you have family or friends that you're potting with, or that you're, you know, bring people with you. Check in with folks and make sure that, you know, text friends and say, hey, I'm heading off to vote this morning. Are you ready? Do you need a ride? If you're someone that you're, you know, socially safe with, like, make plans to meet afterwards, make plans to meet on Zoom, and just celebrate the fact that you've taken advantage of this wonderful opportunity that we have. And let's try and, you know, make sure that you have, we have a wonderful resource here. There is a number that you can call, so please put it in your phone. It's 866-OUR-VOTE. Slap that puppy in your phone, and if you have any issues with voting, with being in line, let me just throw that graphic up for y'all's. The word is vote, in case we are covering. It's 866-OUR-VOTE. Put that in your phone, and if someone tries to tell you you can't vote, or it's too late, or you're in line and they're trying to tell you to go home, but the polls are still open, any of those things, 866-OUR-VOTE will, our social media guru, who is in the comments as Ivy and the Spooky Kids right now, can help you with questions. But also, she was at her polling place and the Wi-Fi went down, and the Our Vote people came out and got the Wi-Fi back up. So people waiting in line had Wi-Fi. The polling stuff went smoothly. So it's really important to make sure that you are set for this week. And then once you do it, take care of yourself. Like, mental health, have some fun, have a cocktail if you're of age, go work out, do whatever you do to make yourself feel good. Reward yourself, because it's important. And I like that we've got some people in here who are like, already voted, already done.
Awesome. That is all great news.
Yes, really, really appreciate that. So what we like to ask is, and you've already told us who you're voting for, literally, but we like, which is totally cool. Nerdsvote.com, which is our hub, is nonpartisan. We're just interested in getting people to vote. Our guests are not necessarily. So you can obviously say whatever you like on the show. But when you are going to vote, when you pop that ballot in the mailbox, or not, or the ballot box now, or cast your ballot, who are you voting for? Who are you wanting your vote to benefit?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, I will happily tell you, as I did to start this, that I am emphatically voting for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who I'm really impressed by and have been for a while. And, you know, it's just, I'm voting for decency and for empathy and for a president that will hopefully be able to unify a nation that is the most divided it's been in modern history. And, you know, I think things are so divisive and so complicated right now because we have somebody who's been, you know, sort of propagating a bunch of hateful rhetoric. You know, the president of the United States is a racist. That is a problem. And so we have to vote him out. It's not like, that's not who we are. You know, and I don't even think it's a policy thing. Like, I understand people who, you know, vote thinking fiscally more conservative. This isn't about conservative or liberal for me. And I think so many others, this is about, are you going to vote for our common good, our basic humanity? Again, empathy. And I don't think you have to be a Republican or a Democrat to see what is good behavior and what is bad behavior. And so to me, this is an obvious choice. And again, I have a lot of friends that disagree with some of Biden's policies. And I understand that. And again, I think this is not a policy decision so much as we have to get somebody in office who is going to fight for the good in humanity and not bring out the worst of humanity. And so to me, that's Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And, you know, I think there's lots of voter suppression and crazy things that have been happening to try to sway this to Trump. I don't think we can be complacent because I think that Hillary was up in the polls 4 years ago at this point. So we really got to get out the vote, and you got to go fight for the future that you want. So anyways, I think that's what everybody should be doing. I don't think this is a matter of policy at all. I think it's just, are you going to vote for the guy that put kids in cages, or are you going to vote for the guy that wants to be a president of every state? To me, obvious choice.
Okay. Sorry, things are falling over.
JP is so moved, he's trashing his apartment.
Dan, are there, in addition to all the stuff you're saying, are there any causes or issues that are especially important to you in terms of both what's happening and also just maybe year round about that affect various groups or issue or people that you want to see handled?
100%. So I have it into a Supreme Court position days before the election because there's tangible concern now that Roe v. Wade could be overturned. I think a woman's right to choose is immensely important. Female reproductive rights, I don't think a bunch of old white guys should be choosing what a woman decides to do with her body. So I think that's a real issue, and that's something that I fight for. Growing up, I was in a theater group that was sort of affiliated with Planned Parenthood, about just sort of like, preaching, lots of stuff. But I think certainly a woman's right to choose is a big deal for me. I think gay marriage is a big deal, especially in the arts. We have such a big LGBTQ community, many of whom are my dear friends. Again, a bunch of old white guys should not be deciding who gets to love who. So we need to continue to, keep gay marriage a thing. I think social issues for me, like that's where it comes down to. It comes down to empathy. And if I have to pay a little bit more in taxes to make sure that like my friends can marry each other, then like, well, that's just what it is. I think, I'm trying to think of, other issues. I think we've got to get a handle on the horrific immigration policies that Trump has enacted. We're better than that. We're a nation of immigrants. We've got to figure out a better way. And I'm confident that Biden will. And I also think that, what else? There's just so many issues I'm passionate about. But look, and again, I want to emphasize, no candidate is going to be the perfect candidate for everybody. But I think if you look at what you've got on the table, one is for, the greater good of humanity and making sure that, again, people can love who they love, people can control their own bodies, and the government shouldn't be touching those kind of things, in my opinion.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. Yeah, it's these are the important things that are facing. We can't underscore how important this election is, and how important. I mean, you bring up a lot of things that will be decided by the Supreme Court, and one of the things that we do like to remind people too is that it's not just the Supreme Court that's running things in your let's be real here. It's so hard when you have to decide for judges like locally and stuff like that. And you're like, I don't know who this person is. Like, you still got to do the research because these are the people that are deciding, the laws, how they're being enforced. There is myriad issues that get put before the courts. And as you can see now with what's happening, lower courts, appeal courts, circuit judges have say in mitigating certain actions. So even though it might not be the most exciting thing, and also if you get thrown in jail, we talk a lot about my criminal record on the show, and so like that's these people are making, all jokes aside, these people are making important decisions that very much affect the community that you live in. So it is be curious, be curious and put in a little extra elbow grease, because the people that are deciding things locally in your community have really the most direct effect on you in the day to day.
And I think that's also a real advantage of voting ahead of time. One of the real advantages we've had is, you're able to sit with your ballot and your research and take time. I mean, voting for me this year was like a 3-hour process of sitting down and really making sure that I made the choice that was right for me on like you said, the judges and everything. And look, I think equally important to the presidential race right now is the Senate. As we saw in the Obama administration, it was really difficult for them to pass, exactly the healthcare plan that they wanted because of the Republican Senate. So I think, the Senate is just as important, because, I honestly think, zooming out from all of it, our country is being run largely on a set of rules that were put in place in the 1700s. And a lot of it's not working right now. And so I think we need to vote for people that are going to take a really broad look at how we can make government function better and really serve all people.
And just to throw in a little helpful tip for you, we also work with a company called, a group called Ballot Ready. And they're available at ballotready.org. And what they've done is aggregated all of the races. Obviously, there's the national, also state, also local. You can punch in your information at ballotready.org, and they will show you both sides or the issues that are at hand, lay those out for you. So it's a really great resource when you're doing research on what's on your ballot. And I think they've gotten almost everywhere in the United States, down to some pretty small cities. So definitely check it out.
And also, visit our website, nerdsvote.com. We have a guide for ballot parties. So if you wanted to, you still have some time to get together with friends to go over, whether it be on Zoom or in person. Zoom is probably preferred, or whatever your digital meeting platform is. And divvy up some of the research. And even if you're doing it by yourself, the back couple pages of the guide have a whole list of websites, all of them unbiased and nonpartisan, that will help you to be able to research your candidates' positions, how they may have voted in the past, what their websites say, what endorsements they have received, and also the same for any propositions or referendums or ballot measures that you might be voting on. All of that, all of the information behind those can be found in the websites that we've listed. So check our site out for that.
And we also have some very stylish Nerds Vote gear. If you possibly, we'll be sending you a beautiful Nerds Vote t-shirt, Ben, for being on the show. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But you can also check that out on the site as well. And if you use the promo code countdown this week, if you do it today, we'll throw it in the mail priority, and you'll get it in time for November 3rd. So yeah, promo code is countdown. We have to wrap up pretty soon here. I just want to make sure that we don't get cut off from, Instagram likes to cut us off when we have really awesome guests on that we go over time with. So before, just a quick question for you. Is there anyone in any of the shows that you've done, Benson is a Beast, Henry Danger, or someone that you've worked with that maybe you would say would be the best if they were going to run for president, that you would be like, yes, this is the dude, this is the woman?
Oh yeah.
Who is it?
It's Cooper Barnes who plays Captain Man on Henry Danger. He is one of my most socially engaged, progressive friends. Again, leads with empathy, leads with social justice on all of his opinions, is not afraid to be publicly vocal about how he feels. The dude, in my opinion, plays a superhero on TV, but is one off TV. So 100% him.
Awesome.
Nicely done. Cooper Barnes, you guys. Yeah, let's throw it out there right now. We got 4 more years to figure it out after this. What we like to do when we sign off with people, and I think this is a slam dunk, but you know, your choice. We like to have people sign off as their favorite character. We usually ask the fans who that is. I think the fans overwhelmingly think it's the toddler. But if you were going to sign us off as a particular character, what would you say? Can you like just pop it off, dance monkey dance one more time?
Let's do it. I think I'll go Mikey Monroe from Bunsen is a Beast this time. What?
Everybody go vote! Everybody make sure to vote in the 2020 election. Nerds, vote!
Okay, I will come on your show
I love it.
as long as that is not the voice that.
Exactly.
No, that's amazing. Ben, thank you so much for coming on the show. You are amazing.
Thanks for being here, buddy.
Yeah, and thank
Great
you
to
all
see
for
you
tuning
guys.
in. Please check us out on nerdsvote.com. Check out Ben, if you want to plug your TikTok channel. Anything else?
Sure. Come follow me on TikTok if you want to smile every day.
Every day. Guaranteed.
Every day.
Love that.
And please make sure you guys do your research. Make sure your ballots get counted this year. Do not put them in the mail. Drop them off. Do what you need to do to get your vote counted. And join us. We will be dark next Tuesday because it is election day. But follow us here and we'll give you more information on our next show. And thank you all for tuning in.
Great to see
Thanks,
you guys.
Ben.
Peace.
See you soon.
Bye, buddy.
Bye, guys.
Bye.